Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Upload Past Crossroads, and welcomes to Justin Lee Howell's YouTube channel as well, Chaplain Logs, wherever you're viewing from. If you're viewing from my Facebook page, Sean Christopher Jenkins, my LinkedIn page, Sean Christopher Jenkins, thank you. My Twitter page, troubledontlast, that's also my Instagram page as well. Thank you for tuning in as well. All right, so today we got a treat for you. So we're trying to finish our studies on the book of Revelations, chapter 21, and eventually get to Revelations 22. And then we got Nehemiah 1 to do and all the book of Nehemiah. We just got a lot to do, guys. So we're trying to get it all out for you here. All right. So this is a continuance of, again, our studies we've been doing on Revelations 21. You can go to my YouTube channel, Upload Past Crossroads again, and you can see I have a playlist on my YouTube channel, titled Revelations 21. So you can listen to all my sermons, the Bible studies I've done with Justin and Terry as well, and just any videos and animations I've done on Revelations 21. And then also, this is a continuation again of the Sunday school lesson that we had on Revelations 21, 10 through 21. So today we're going to be focusing in on 11 through 17. Hopefully we can get through all those verses. I know it's probably going to take a while, but guys, there's so much nuggets, so much gems in these verses. It's going to be crazy. All right. So before we get started, make sure to, follow me on all my social media platforms, like all my content, share all my content, but especially on my YouTube videos, because that's where you're watching from right now. And do the same thing on Justin's social media pages as well. His YouTube channel, Chaplain Logs, and then his Facebook page, Justin Lee Howell. So if you have any questions, go ahead and DM us and ask us questions that you want us to do a video on, because we answer people questions on video. All right, but let's go ahead and get to this study. So as you guys know, this is on the book of Revelations, chapter 21. So, Justin, do you think we should read the verses first before we start talking?
Yeah, let's read the verses, the context a little bit. I think that'd be
all right. So
good.
All right. So let's give you guys context. All right. So let's go ahead and read these verses out to you guys if I can find them in my notes. All right. So I'm about to share my screen again, like I had it shared to begin with. And let's go ahead and get to this. All right, so again, we're focusing on verse 11 through 17 of Revelations 21. So I'm reading from the King James Version Bible. So having the glory of God in her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city and the gates thereof and the wall thereof. And the city lieth 4 squares, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. And he measured the wall thereof in 144 cubits, according to the measure of man, that is of the angel. So I read Revelations 21, 11 through 17, and we're going to be focusing on verse 11 first. So having the glory of God in her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. So before we even get started, let's get some setting here. So these are the last 2 chapters of the Bible. You got Revelations 21, Revelations 22. These are the last chapters again of the Bible. So it's talking about the eternal state, how it's going to be for all eternity in heaven, right? So this is the end. This is what everything's been working towards, what God's plans and what he was orchestrating all along has been building upon. This is it, right? So this is the final state, the eternal state. You guys get that? So it's different than the millennial kingdom. It's different than any other time period in mankind history. So what we see here is the New Jerusalem. So I titled this video, Heaven's Capital, the New Jerusalem, guys. So you have the old Jerusalem, which is the earthly, kingdom, the earthly city, which is corrupt because it killed the prophets. It denied Jesus, the Messiah, God. Like, it did all these things to God's people and godly things, and they did awful things to them. But in this New Jerusalem, it's not going to be like that, because we all will know the truth. right? So, and the truth is, Jesus is Lord, Jesus is King, Jesus is God, and He's on the throne, right? Because we see in Revelations 21 and 22 that on the throne room, the tree of life, for example, I think that's Revelations 22, verse 1 through 7. It says the tree of life is connected to the river of life, and it's all connected to the throne room of God and the Lamb. So God and Jesus, right? So this is the context, guys. I just want to give you a little bit of context. Do you want to give some context, Justin?
Yeah, like I so far we've been getting like teasers, like the new Jerusalem is going to be like. It's kind of like when Jesus was giving parables, going to be like he said it's going to be like a banquet. It's going to be like a place where the king invites every very general. And John's been getting like tiny snippets of what a new going to be like, and we've kind of touched on that. But now we're getting like specifics. Now we're getting like observed, like in verse 10, right before what we're entering, the angel took John up to, like we said last time, and during the last day, the mountaintop's super important because two things. One, that was always perceived as being closer to heaven, and two, that expanse of like people will go to mountaintops to see the expanse of. Now John is seeing the expanse of what the New Jerusalem is like, and this is what this like. It shows like specific details of what we have to look forward to. Parts was like the thing that makes the New Jerusalem important was that God was going to be there. That was broken all the way back in Genesis. So we got a taste of that physical details, and hopefully, man, there's just like so much, and like just a few of these verses. It's gonna be crazy. I hope we can get through all of it. But now we're just gonna like look at the details of up there, just so we can like pick apart each and every one of these verses. It's just there's a reason for John's vision of seeing heaven in this set up in a very symbolic way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and dig into it.
All right, yeah, let's go to verse 11. Honestly, Justin, I feel like we read at a weird spot, but again, guys, watch the previous videos that we've done on Revelations 21 because we already done Revelations 21, 1 through 10. So you can see that video again on my YouTube channel somewhere right here. All right, so this is the video. Hopefully, everybody can see it. But now I'm circling.
Yeah,
so
I think
that video right.
Yeah, because like verse 10, the angel's already taken John to the mountaintop. Now look at the kingdom. I think this is a good spot. I just want to jump to 11 real fast. How it's being compared to Jasper.
Mm-hmm.
Like John could have said the walls were like crystal, but like the unique thing about Jasper is and a durability to it. Like he could have just stopped at, oh yeah, it's clear like crystal. Would have lost some of the impact. He said Jasper specifically because the kingdom of God is like it's powerful stuff. Not only does it have a luster and a clearness to it, but it's also he was trying to pick out a precious jewel that symbolized how not strong it is. Like the kingdom of God's just not for show. Powerful place, I know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm happy you pointed it out there. I want to show everybody a picture of what Jasper looked like because, like, it's totally different than the Jasper we know and that we're accustomed to in this world. Like, look how dull Jasper is, man. Like, if that's Jasper, how can you see through? You can't see through that. It's dull and it's a thick color of red, right? So it's impossible to see through that. But that's the whole point. Like in heaven and in glory, it's going to be totally different than what's here, than what we are accustomed to and what we're used to here. So like previous videos, we titled our videos for Revelations 21 as like the New World Order or something like that. So yeah, this is a new world order. Like this is totally different than what we're accustomed to. And like we talk about it a lot through a lot of Bible studies me and Justin's done, like how God speaks through creation, right? He's saying how everything's operating, how he's operating in every dimension, in every time period, in every world. So on our earth, like he's showing like how he's working and how everything's orchestrated. So like Jasper is oblique and dull, and you can't see through it on this earth because everything, the truth isn't obvious on this earth. Like we're lost. Like nothing is clear, right? Did you guys see that in verse 11? It says, having the glory of God in her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like Jasper stone. And the last part said, clear as crystal. It's pure, it's clear. You can see through it. That says a lot. This is the new heaven. This is the new Jerusalem. This is the new earth, right? The new world order. This Jasper is the wall, right? And we can see through it. So that's saying that the truth is going to be obvious up there. The truth, everything's going to be transparent and clear. There'll be no confusion because everything, God is reigning with us. He's dwelling with us. He's there with us in the new Jerusalem and the new earth. So there won't be any debate. There won't be any questions. There won't, well, we'll have questions, but he'll be answering all of them, right? He'll be there with us. So there won't be no person to misconstrue and just change the message up to what they want it to be. It's going to be the message that God wants it to be because he's there with us, right? So yeah, that Jasper part is so crazy because like another thing too, you guys saw how bright Jasper was, right? That's a pretty stone. It's not something it's dull, but it still reflects, right? Ooh, that is powerful. It's dull, but it still reflects. I want you guys to remember that because as Christians, we're supposed to reflect the glory of God. God's the sun, and we're the moon. Everybody's the moon. And the moon just reflects the sun, the light of the sun. So like, yeah, but stones do the same thing as well. I don't want to spoil it, but Jasper is doing this as well. All right. So yeah, the radiance, I'm gonna talk about that. And her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like Jasper stone, clear as crystal. So radiance, radiance, that's the word is used kind of. And it's talking about how this Jasper, her light was like unto a stone most precious, the light of the city, the radiance of the city. So the light, the shining, the brightness, the beams, the gleam, the luster, the dazzle. I keep on going, the shimmer, the glare. It came from Jasper, one of the stones. Like when we keep on going through the verses, we're gonna see that the other stones that were reflecting the light, which is God, was Jasper, crystal light, like there's different amethyst, like it's different stones, and they're all reflecting God's glory. I'm just skipping like crazy, Justin. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. But like, yeah, in the New Jerusalem, God's glory will be on display forever, right? And we see that with Revelations 21:23, and the city had no need for the sun, neither the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light therefore, right? And then we see in Revelations 22, verse 5, in the next chapter, it says, and there shall be no night there. There's no need for a candle, neither light of the sun, for the Lord God giveth them light, and they shall reign forever and ever. So, yeah, like I want to talk about that first part of verse 11. It says, her light was like a most precious stone. So, John was impressed by the glory of the city, right? The radiance, the shimmer, the dazzle, everything you could think of like that, right? So, the city shared in the glory of God, right? It's in God's light. You guys see that? And it's expressed in the radiant light shining from her, right? Because it's coming from God's light. So yeah, describing the holy city of Jerusalem, John described it as having the glory of God. You guys see how it's all connected now. So in other words, God's glory or brilliance filled the city. Yeah, so God's glory is the manifestation of the fullness of his attributes and traits. So that's all what heaven's going to be. The new heaven and the new earth, the final state, the eternal state, starting from verse 11, what we just saw today. So yeah, it's crazy, man. Did you have anything else, Justin, with verse 11?
No, you actually touched upon what I wanted to say too, about the importance of the city is not just what it looks like, even though that we will go into the symbology of it, but the fact that God be there, like it's not shining because it's Jasper or what have you, but the brilliance is coming because like God's presence is in that. It's like the verses we always talk about, the light on the hill, like people can't help but shine out because like we have God's glory hill, the salt of the earth. God's kingdom And this is probably why the angel had a mountaintop instead of going straight to the city, just because they had to back away to see all that's brilliant, shining so much, just because like it has so much of God's glory in there. I'm really glad you touched on that, because it's more than just physical appearances.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it said, yeah, Jasper, it said that the walls was made of jasper and it was clear, right? Like crystals.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. We just saw what Jasper looked like. It don't look like no crystal.
No.
Like crystal has reflections. It has light
John
color.
John probably he still has a mortal mind, so he probably
Mm-hmm.
can't even comprehend. God is like, he's probably like grasping for jewels or gems that best, like a mix of jasper and crystal is like the best thing he could come up with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say too, man. Like John, he can only articulate it as best as he could, right, with words, what he was seeing. So maybe it doesn't look like Jasper, but the best way of him articulating how clear it was and how transparent it was using the Jasper stone. Like we saw how dull it is, like Jasper stone, but then also how clear it is. It's definitely clear, like with one shade of color on that stone. So yeah, and we're gonna see, like, the city is gonna be this bright, and it's gonna be shining this light like crystal, right? Transparent, and it's enlightening the city for all eternity. It's gonna be like this for all eternity. All right, so I just want to throw that out there. We'll see that with verse 18 as well. I'm gonna read that real quick. Let's see what verse 18 says. Revelations 21:18 says, "And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass." So it keeps on reiterating how clear, how transparent everything is. Like on earth, the sea, the ocean is not clear. And it's not clear for a reason, because God's telling us, you know, we talked about it before in our videos, like crazy. At the beginning of Revelations 21, there was no sea, right? So, and on this earth, how much was it? 80% of the sea has yet to been discovered. 95 to 96% of space has yet to been discovered. And it's for a reason. For a reason. Like life's a mystery. There's mysteries, so many mysteries, so many unanswered questions. And in heaven, like, we'll have God there with us, giving us all the answers to the question. Like, yeah, we have God now, but still, everybody has a choice, free will, all these different theologies and pagan religions and beliefs. It's just all, you don't know what to believe, right? So yeah, that's the way it is on this earth. So that's why creation is the way it is. It's telling us that it's like that. All right, so you ready to go to verse 12, Justin?
Yeah.
All right. So verse 12.
Man, so all the verses we're going to get into have a significance of 12, like the 12 gates, the 12 angels, the 12 tribes. And like we saw this before, 12 is the number, it's 7 and 12 are like the Bible. And 12 specifically because it's supposed to be 3, which signifies heaven, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and a lot of significance to 3, and 4, which signifies that is, but it's 3 times 4 is supposed to signify the completion of heaven. So when you see like 12 gates, 12 angels, even throughout the Bible, you had like 12 to see, and 12 tribes, 12 tribes. Like you see that God is trying to bring his authority, his glory to earth. Like our chapter about talking about how there's a new Jerusalem and a new heaven. Like all this is trying to wrap up like the revelation, wrap up everything Jesus came for in his second coming. Like this earth is symbolizing the completion of everything. Like that's why it's so important, because God is trying to give a message, or Jesus, even John, that this is the end. Like this is the last books. This is the last thing God is going to do to bring his heaven on earth. And he's 12, 12, 12. But I have more to say, but first, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah. I'll finish 12 like we talked about at the beginning of the video. So 12 is the perfect number, and it also represents like the perfect foundation number for leadership. And then also it symbolized number 12 symbolizes God's power and authority, and like Justin said, completion in its entirety, right? So you see how it's connecting. So it's 12 gates, 12 apostles, 12 tribes of Israel. The number 12, like the 144,000. I'm pretty sure. What is that? Is that 12 times 12? I don't know, but
yeah. That's
but the
like
number,
140.
right. Yeah, with number 12, it has a lot of significance in the Bible, as we know, and so it's just crazy, man. Like, but I want to focus on that first part. Well, yeah, and yeah, verse 12 says, "And had a wall great and high, had 12 gates, and the gates, and at the gates 12 angels." Right. All right, so it's a great and high wall. You see how John emphasized that, a great and high wall. Like there's not a wall like this to ever exist. Like the Great Wall of China is pretty impressive. Like men have had pretty impressive walls, but in the New Jerusalem, like we'll see later on, I think with the verses we're covering today, I don't know if we'll cover it. No, we're not gonna cover it because it's like verse 18 and 19 or something. But it talks about how the length, the height, and the width of the city is all 1,400 miles or 1,500 miles, right? This debate with theologians of which number it is. 1,400 seem more likely to me because it goes with like all the numbers and how God works. But anyways, like that's how big the whole wall of the city is, right? But then we'll see also in verse 17, it says that the walls are later said to be 144 cubits, right? So that's 200 feet thick. So I don't know if it's 200 feet thick or is it 200, it's 200 feet thick. So because the length, height, and width's 1,400 miles, right? So that's right, thick, man. Like what wall is 200 feet thick? Like, are you kidding me?
That's thick.
You try to shoot it with a gun, what's going to happen? That is beautiful, man. So yeah, the beauty of the wall is seeing in that it was made of jasper. So what wall is made of a stone, a diamond, a jasper, and amethyst? Are you kidding me? You see how different heaven is, right? Like it's transparent. Oh my gosh, like that is crazy. So John's emphasizing how impressive this city is, because it's surrounded by this impressive wall. And walls symbolize something real powerful in the ancient time period. So it's a great high wall, right? So in the ancient time period, a wall represents strength and protection, right? So a city without a wall was considered weak and a disgrace, right? So, and it's because, they could be easily, that city that didn't have a wall could be easily taken advantage of, because they had nothing protecting the city, protecting, them, the whole city from, people that want to take it over or something like that. Because, they didn't have, what if you, not having a wall is like not having police. In the ancient time period, right? Like that would be awful, right? So the walls of the New Jerusalem serve a different purpose, right? Like when this holy city appears, all the enemies and adversaries of God are thrown into the lake of fire. Like they will be completely destroyed, right? So God was just using the walls to symbolize, the glory and purity of God, one. And yeah, and people are used to just a wall, protecting a city, right? So it's a lot of symbolism. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Did you have anything else, Justin?
No, I just like man, I just like how like even cubits thick goes into it's like 12 times 12 and the 12 times 1,000. Like the and like the I'm getting ahead of myself, but like the just the shape of the city. I'll go into it too. Like in verse 16, I think your version said it is like a it was like square as
Yeah,
as
four square.
wide as long as the breadth or something like that.
Yeah,
I I like that because like it symbolizes that there's like once not only is the city like perfectly symmetrical, uh, perfectly even, but I think everyone else in the New Jerusalem, they're going to have this equalness as well. Um, like it's going to be equal in purity and perfection, absolute uniformity in the church. Like that's a man. I was talking like too. Like it's I guess like with all the problems in the world we have nowadays, like everyone's still being the same, but like getting along in heaven. Like I wait for stuff like that. So I really think like the evenness, like all the details that the verses point out of it being square and like a certain length and width, that once we go to heaven, like the people there are going to be in uniform as well. Or I could be reading into it. We were diving into the city a little bit more.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's a lot with this verse. So one thing I wanted to say too, um, I said it earlier. I said it while I talked, but I didn't finish it. It was like a punchline kind of. So, the wall wasn't needed in heaven, right? Like there's no need to have a wall if you have no enemies, essentially, right? But like, the wall wasn't needed for defense because there was no enemies. Everybody was thrown into like a fire, like I said earlier. But the Great and High Wall gave the city definition, right? It was incomplete without a wall, right? And it showed that some will be excluded from the city. Only the righteous can enter. And one of my biggest points I have for everybody, all of God's people will be included in the New Jerusalem. The people who don't want to be a part of that number, the people who don't want to have anything to do with God or anything to do with his ways and what he wants, they won't get to enter into this new city, this new Jerusalem, where there's no pain, no sorrow, no death, because they were part of the problem of why we had all the issues on the earth, anyways. Like, so, the walls indicate that the interest is reserved for certain individuals, right? So, Revelations 21:27, going further in this text, it's crazy how we keep on bringing up other verses, like further along, Justin, with this, but you kind of got to do it with these verses. So,
Yeah.
Revelation 21:27 says, and there shall no wise enter into it anything that defileth. So nobody can enter this city that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh an abomination or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. So if you're not written in this book of life, right? You don't have eternal life. You don't get to make it into the city. So who are excluded from the city? And are all angels invited or some excluded? Right? It's the people who are excluded are the ones that practice unrighteousness, that live, there are liars, mockers, and just it gave a whole list. I think in Revelations 21 verse 8. I'm pretty sure it was Revelation 21 8 or 7, something like that. But yeah, you guys get it, man. And I want to talk about the 12 gates. So secondly, the city will also have 12 gates, and thirdly, at the gates 12 angels. That is so powerful because like so many times in the scriptures we see that an angel was protecting something, like the angel was present somewhere, like in the Garden of Eden, right? So the presence of angels serving as guards at each gate in the New Jerusalem. At each gate, there will be an angel, right? So it symbolized that all unbelievers are excluded from the city again, right? Nobody who shouldn't be a part of this city will not be a part of this city. Like there's only one way to heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ, through believing that he died for your sins. I can keep on going. You guys know it. So there's no way of getting around that, right? So if you don't believe that and you don't commit your life to him and serving him and everything like that, you're going to be excluded from the city. So you can't talk your way into heaven. Like this is so powerful. You can't fight your way into heaven. You can't finesse your way. No, like there's only one way, right? He paid the price for you. So do you believe it, right? So man, it's so crazy, man. And then also like that just remind me of I said the Garden of Eden, right? Like when Adam and Eve, ate from the tree and then they were excluded from paradise from the Garden of Eden, like it said that God placed an angel protecting the Garden of Eden, making sure that nobody else could enter into it, right? Then also when Jesus died and rose from the dead, there was an angel present when John and the disciple, John and Peter showed up, and when the women showed up before John and Peter, right? So that is crazy, man. Like the angel guarding the tomb. Come on, man. And people thought that Jesus, the disciples faked his death and stuff like that. People still think that. Some people think Jesus faked his death and stuff, but an angel was present. So yeah.
Man, there's so much to talk about that too, though. But then, like we're freaked out and like gave their testimony that the tomb was empty, and I'm like, why would they fake something like that?
Right.
And they have to be like paid to be like, yeah, do like how the gates have like the names of the 12 tribes. It shows like the only way in there, as you were touching upon, is like through Jesus, a follower of him. Like there are 12 gates, so God is inviting us inside, inviting people. It's like the king inviting people to the banquet. We have to just have to be willing to accept him into our life first, and be written like that's like if we wanted to make our way to heaven through works, like we talked about countless times how we can't possibly do outweigh our bad, especially in nowadays where it's so easy to give into temptation. Allows away, and I just like this symbology of it all, where heaven are gates with the tribes of Israel laid out, because that by being the people, like it's when I say the people, I'm not saying like any tree or race or anything like that. We've already said like there's going to be equality. But when I say people, I'm saying like people who are willing to of God. Like once we've been adopted, like we throw away our old identities. We're not black, we're not Asian, we're not Democrat, we're not Republican. It's like we're one kingdom, and like God's making it that easy for us by having gates for us.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like you just made me think about it. Like, you know how they said every 12 tribes of Israel is a different race, essentially? Like, I don't know.
Actually,
That hurt. No, you haven't?
no, I hadn't.
Like, I heard black people came from Shem and him, something like that. Like everybody like came from a certain tribe of Israel. I don't know. But that's just forget I said that, everybody. But yeah, I made a point earlier. I said that, all of God's people will be included in the New Jerusalem. And when I said that, I was referring to the 12 tribes of the children of Israel's names being on each and every gate. Their names were written on every one of the 12 gates. That is so powerful. And we'll talk about it. Every gate was a pearl. Like, you've never seen a pearl this big. And that was my favorite part of the whole chapter. So I'll wait to get to that part. But anyways, so like the summary of everything we talked about with verse 12, which is crazy, is 12 gates. There's 12 gates within the great and high walls of the city. There was an angel at each gate, and each gate had a name written on it, and each gate had a name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel written on it, right? So here goes some of my points. The names of the tribes of the gates communicate the unity and heritage that the people of God have with Israel. And another point I had was, God will never forget the tribes of Israel, even into eternity. So one thing I want to say to everybody, like, this is so significant, right? One thing I want to say to everybody is, God doesn't waste your experiences here on this earth. Like, God has a purpose for each and every single experience that you will ever go through in this life, especially if you're a child of God and you committed yourself to following God's will, doing what He wants, because you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. So nothing happens for nothing, and God doesn't waste your experiences, right? And He does everything for a reason, right? So this distinctive identification of the 12 tribes of Israel's names being written on each and every single gate, will live throughout all eternity, right? So their names will always be on the gate, right? the 12 tribes of Israel. You know how long ago the 12 tribes of Israel was? And he has their names written on it. And then he has the 12 disciples' names on, well, not names, but they represent every stone of the foundation of the New Jerusalem. So, like, what do we learn from that? This confirms that the gifts and the calling of God are without repentance. So God doesn't do anything for nothing, right? So, meaning that God's gifts and his call can never be withdrawn, and he'll never go back on his promises. He didn't promise these people that, you guys are significant, right? You guys are doing my will, and you're the foundation of the whole entire church for the disciples. But for the children of Israel, man, you're the start of people coming to God and doing things God's way, and even having God as a God compared to other guys. Like, come on, man. So the names of Israel's tribes written on every gate appear to indicate the importance of Israel and God's eternal plan of redemption. You remember, God could have chosen any nation, to be his people, but he chose the children of Israel. Why? Because they were the weakest, the most pathetic, like the ones that everybody stomped on. And he said, I'm going to use y'all because of your weakness, everybody's going to see my strength. Man, I'm preaching now. Like, so, man, and like, it's so powerful, right? Because like Aaron, I like how the Old Testament, everything ties in. Like the whole Bible ties into me like crazy, but especially like the Old Testament. So like, you know, we see that the 12 tribes of Israel are represented in another way in the Bible. So I just want to share this. So like, I'm gonna share my screen in a minute, but the high priest, when he went into the tabernacle, he had certain things on before he even went into the tabernacle, to where the Ark of the Covenant was, where God's presence was, right? Uh, where the candles, the 12 candlesticks was, uh, the table of showbread, the altar of incense. Like, only the high priest could go into the holy place where the Ark of the Covenant was, where God's presence was dwelling, right? And if anybody else tried, they'll die, right? If the high priest wasn't living right, he'll die. But Aaron was the high priest, and he bore the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, you know, on his chest with the breastplate of judgment, and on his shoulders. It was six. He had added the 12 tribes. It was six on one side, six on another side when he wore the onyx stones, right? And so this is so powerful, right? So before I even get to that, Justin, did you have anything? Because then I could just read through some stuff.
No, go for it, man.
All right. So it says in the Bible, and I'll go ahead and read it in Exodus chapter 28, right? I'm gonna just share my screen, all right? Because you guys need to see it. I'm gonna give everybody a visual. So this is my notes. So I doubt you guys can see it like that, but here we go anyway. Sorry. So in Exodus 28 verses 9 through 11, it says, "And thou shalt take onyx stones, engrave them the names of the children of Israel, six of their names on one stone, and on the other six names of the rest of the other stone, according to their birth, with the work of the engraver in the stone, like the engravings of a signet, so a signet ring, shalt thou engrave the two stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold." All right, so let me talk about, I'm going to show you what an onyx stone looked like, and then I'm going to talk about the breastplate of judgment. So sorry guys, I got a life. I got to work a 9 to 5, so I'm not prepared like I should be for this. So y'all pray for me, and maybe one day I can be. So this is what the high priest looked like when he went into the holy place of the tabernacle. So just in case you don't know what the tabernacle is, because I'm gonna need it in a minute anyways. So the tabernacle, children of Israel, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for using Google or anything. No copyright or nothing. We'll see. But yeah, so God told the children of Israel to make a tabernacle because he wanted to dwell with his people, just like he's going to do in all eternity, in a new heaven and a new earth. So he was trying to show us a picture of what heaven's like, how we're going to dwell with him forever, and in this tabernacle, the tabernacle was made of gold, like it was all gold, but everything on the outside of it was bronze. So this whole entire thing, the outer course, you see with the white linen on the outside of it, the outskirts, like it symbolized purity, the white, and then you got there's just so much to tell you about. I'm not gonna focus on it. But anyways, so you got that, and the children of Israel all lived there. You had the Levites, Aaron and Moses, the closest to the tabernacle, and the Levites, because they were serving in the tabernacle, and all the 12 tribes were on the outskirts. So essentially, the way it was, like, some tribes had more numbers than others, so it made a cross. So when people looked on a mountain, all the enemies looked on a high mountain when it saw the camp, the Israelite camp, because they moved. It was portable, right? And they took the tabernacle with them everywhere they went. It made a cross, all right? So there's just so much to tell you guys. But anyways, so when the high priest went in to do his duties into the tabernacle, he wore an onyx stone, which had the 6 tribes of Israel. So he had 6 tribes of Israel on each stone, so it made 12 tribes of Israel total, right? So you guys see the significance. Like, let me tell you what an onyx stone means, though. Like, this is so powerful, right, guys? This is how cool the Bible is. All right, so God didn't ask them to get pebbles, right, or a regular rock or any rock of their choice, to put the 12 tribes of Israel's name on, the shoulders of the high priest. He commanded them to get a precious onyx stone. So onyx stone symbolized something. I'm gonna tell you what it symbolized. So God commanded them to find an engraver, engraving the names of his people on the stones in order to show, that God really cares about you, right? Your name is engraved on his hand. That's a scripture verse. You guys remember? He hasn't forgotten you. That's what that means. Like, he hasn't forsaken you. God values you. So anytime the high priest goes into the temple of God, Jesus, he has the 12 tribes of Israel's name written on his heart, engraven on him, right? So, and I just told you about the onyx stones. I haven't even told you about the breastplate of righteousness, right? The breastplate of judgment. So, yeah, it shows that you are near and dear to God, right? The children of Israel, you in the church is man, you're treasured, man. You're a delight in his sight, man. You're cherished by God, boy. Like, so you thought you didn't have value, man. You better think again, man. So, it is, if it is true for these rebellious people that he cared for the children of Israel that much, what do you think he does for you, man? So surely he cares for you, even though you're a sinner and you screw up and everything like that. So yeah, there's so much to tell you about an onyx stone, but all you need to know it's an onyx stone is like, it symbolized like powerful protection. This is why people used it. So it was a black onyx stone, which symbolized that it absorbs and transforms negative energy, and it helps to prevent the drain of personal energy. And so also a black onyx stone, it aids in the development of emotional and physical strength and stamina. Doesn't God do that for you? Right? So especially when support is needed during times of stress, confusion, and grief. So at your lowest points, basically, when crap hits the fan, what does God do for you? So, and that's powerful, right? I told you that the high priest had the onyx stones on his shoulders. You guys see this, the 12 gates or the 12 tribes of Israel. And then you got the high priest, God, who wore stuff like this. Aaron, the children of Israel, symbolizing what heaven is like. He had to wear this stuff with the 12 tribes, the 12 name of Israel's written on him. So yeah, the shoulder is symbolized strength and power in ancient time periods, right? So you got the parable of the lost sheep, the lost sheep, that Jesus carries the sheep, on his shoulder, rejoicing, right? So that just symbolized, like, it says that the government's upon his shoulders in the Old Testament, right? In the book of Isaiah, it prophesies that the government will be upon his shoulders, right? So this means that we can rest on God's strength. We can rest in Jesus' strength, man, and his power. We can lean on him. Like, with that, that's what the onyx stone symbolizes, right? Because it's on the high priest's shoulders. It's on Jesus' shoulders, right? So it's just so much to tell you about, guys. That's just with the onyx stones. I haven't even told you about the breastplate of righteousness. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just going to show you a picture, right? But all you need to know is, like, with the breastplate of righteous, is it called the breastplate of judgment, and the high priest?
Yeah. Like,
yeah. Well, I already had the picture because I did Google what the high priest looked like. But yeah, guys, this is what the breastplate of judgment looked like. It's this. You have the onyx stones again on his shoulders, and then you have the breastplate of judgment on his chest, right? And it had all different kind of stones on it. So we see the same stones essentially in this chapter, Jasper, amethyst, crystallite, all these different stones. And they symbolize the 12 tribes of Israel, guys. So you see how God's the same. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, right? So he doesn't change, right? So how he worked yesterday is how he's going to work today, essentially, right? Like, that's true to an extent. But you guys see what I'm saying. Like, it's just so much to tell you about with that. So I'm done talking, Justin. I know I talked forever, man, but
Good. Yeah, and I know this isn't until later as well, but I do like how writing about the stones, and the stones he writes actually has some significance in things. Um,
mhm.
because like pagans back then believed in the zodiac and that there was, but John intentionally writes the stones in the opposite order that pagans usually do. That one, he wasn't giving the zodiac or paganism their power. He was trying to say that the power comes from God. And as you were saying, which I didn't, was like in the breastplate, it was signifying that the protection as well. Like
Mhm.
when we like our gosh, like this whole chapter is trying to say God, our protection, our salvation, our way into heaven. Like all of these we can, and like God has been very meticulous about planning how the city is laid out. He had an angel take a measuring rod of gold to measure the city. Like it's very, very specific. It's very detailed. You don't just do it haphazardly. Gosh, there are like so many other places in the Bible where measurements, like Noah's Ark, like measurements were taken very carefully because if the Creation Museum or the Noah's or the Ark Museum up in Kentucky, scientific reasons that the boat was measured in that way, and I is also putting the same amount of effort in his city because it's a very important project. Like everything is coming from God. Like I mentioned that onyx part and the breastplate part because I think that's part of like why John is describing the materials of these and everything has a symbol to it. I won't go too much into the gem, like I don't think we read that far into the chapter, but I think it is important. Like the 12 gemstones and the 12 foundations and the 12 apostles, like they all have their significance because that's where um, the foundation of God was. Like Jesus chose his 12 disciples very intentionally. Like even Judas, like even Judas was chosen by Jesus, knew of the purpose that he would have in like his death and resurrection and so each foundation, each gemstone was chosen very, very carefully. Further, Jesus's um, Jesus's work of salvation, and like now we're finally coming to this. The walls of the city have 12 foundations. The breastplates have like the 12 stones on them. I I like how much thought has been put into it. It's not just a beautiful city made of gold and pearls. No, like everything has been planned out for us.
Yeah. And that goes back to like the very first verses we read, like how the city was prepared, it was adorned, it was a bride being,
Yeah,
it was like a
yes,
bride being presented to us. Yeah.
yeah. I like. Yeah, I just like that the verses leading up to it were like teasers. First, we're kind of getting an idea of what heaven is supposed to be like. Like,
Mhm.
and now we're looking at the measurements and the details. Usually, I won't lie. Like, there are books where it's like saying in the temple will be 5 cubits long, and then it just goes of just plain measurements. It's like that. That's I don't understand all that to me, unfortunately. But I like these verses. I probably shouldn't say that. But the I like the verses here because like the measurements were they we got a philosophical explanation before, and now we're getting a physical like philosophy to it as well.
Right. Yeah, man, it's just so much to talk about with verse 12. Like, I just want to end it off. Like, I told you guys that Aaron, he wore the he had to wear, the onyx stones and the breastplate of judgment with the 12 tribes of Israel's names engraven on them, and the 12 tribes of Israel's stone represented each and every single tribe, for a memorial in the presence of God continually, right? He was representing them, you know, because it had to pertain to the things of God, right? So I told you it symbolized our great high priest, Jesus. He's our great high priest. So he appears continually in God's presence for us on our behalf, right? So Jesus took our place, right? It reminded the priest that he was a representative of this character, of Jesus's character, right? So, their position or standing, the high priest and Jesus, standing before God was neither affected nor altered by the changing circumstances, infirmities, or sins, right? Jesus is our great high priest. Like, he paid the price for us. He lived like perfectly for us. He lived a sinless life so that even though we don't live a sinless life, he took our place so that we could be acceptable to God. So he has our names engraved on his hand and on his heart and on his mind. He goes before God, you know, pleading on our behalf, praying for us, interceding for us. So we're in right standing with God. You guys see where we're going at? So that's why, like, the names of the 12 tribes of Israel on the gate, on each and every single gate of the New Jerusalem, new city, like, that is so powerful. Because, guys, that the 12 tribes of Israel were all jacked up. Like, they sold Joseph into slavery. Like, so they didn't like Joseph. Like, they weren't perfect, right? None of them were. So, yeah, man. And God was, so it just speaks of oneness in God's affection, right? On so many levels, right? The New Jerusalem, the new city, the gates. So we're talking about the breastplate of judgment, the onyx stones. You guys see where I'm going at, man. It's just so much treasure with all that, so much nuggets. But yeah, let's keep on going. Justin, do you want to? Yeah, we can go to verse 13. That's safe to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I jumped accidentally to the verses I had.
Nah, you ain't the only one. I jumped too, man. I don't have it written out though. But yeah, you can go ahead and talk about verse 13. You know what? I'm not even gonna worry about writing it out. Let's just talk about it. Guys, you guys got a Bible, get your Bible out. Revelation 21, verse 13. Because I don't want
to read it.
Video. Okay.
I got it right here. I can read it real fast and say something. East, 3 on the north, 3 on the south, and 3 on the west. Main thing I already touched about it, because it relates to verse 6. Everything's even. Like, that's a beautiful thing about the kingdom, is that it's beauty to being symmetrical, because it represents balance. And I think that just shows that one tribe isn't going to be, they're not going to have one big gate just for the tribe of Judah. No, they're going to have like 12 for everybody.
All right.
And it's like 3, 3, 3, 3, like everything's
right. Yeah, I like how you said that, man. Like, you guys, we keep on talking about how God speaks through creation. So here he's saying equality, like you said, Justin. Like, he's saying that everybody's equal. There's balance there, right? Like Justin said, there's everything's fair, right? Everything is just the scales aren't unbalanced there, like it is on this earth. Like, this earth sucks so bad. His life's unfair. There's no justice. Like, there's gonna be justice up there, man. It's gonna be fair up there. Like, everybody will get their due. Like, so it's so powerful. Like, so I want to talk about that. So the 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, on the south, on the west, right?
I wonder if there will be justice up there. Not in a bad, like, in earlier verses we talked about how there be no more tears, no more fear. If no one's doing anything bad to each other, hopefully, then they're just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't mean it like that.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying it'll be a just place, but not because justice is distributed, just because hopefully, like we'll be created into beings that justice to be handed out. I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, that's whole. I was just thinking about it because you commented on it.
Yeah. Or maybe justice in that sense just means like he already judged everything. So like justice was served to like all the evil, wicked people that made life hard for everybody. and turn it made life hard because they didn't do things God's way. Like, and they don't want to either. Like, so justice was served. Right. So nobody can get in there. Right. So I mean you get what I'm saying. But yeah, it's so much with that verse 13, guys. Like it reminds me again of the tabernacle. I just thought about this. The tabernacle. You remember when the horns of the altar was facing upward and facing in all four directions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like guys, in the altar instance inside the tabernacle, in the holy place. So not in the holy of holies, in the holy place, right? So where the candlestick and table showbread was, the altar instance, right? Where most priests could go in to like light the candles, change the bread, and do the altar incense thing. So on that altar instance and on the bronze altar entering into the tabernacle in the outer courts, they had horns going in all four directions, and that symbolized something, right? So you got different gates, three gates on each side, on the west, south, and east, right? And so people can come in every direction, right? And from every nation. That means coming from every nation, every tribe, everybody's invited and can come if you want to come, right? That's Revelation 22. If you want to come, you can come. God's not going to refuse anybody that wants to come. He wants everybody to come, right? So this symbolizes, we all can come together from all directions, from all walks of life, from all ethnic backgrounds to worship God. This is what heaven's going to be like, right? You got three gates on the north. Three gates? Why you need three? Just get one gate. You got three gates. Why? Because it's 14,000 miles. Like,
True.
Right. And so, and three to me symbolize, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Like, you don't believe in those three, like, you're excluded too. So, like, so the fact that there are four sides to the city, the eastern side, the northern side, southern side, and western side, that makes a cube or a square, whatever you want to call it. Four square, like it says in the King James Bible. So some people think that the New Jerusalem's a triangle. Did you know that, Justin? Did you read that in commentaries and stuff?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and the tabernacle wasn't a triangle. So why would God do a triangle, do it differently than that? When it's so much as the book of Revelations 21 and 22, but really the whole book of Revelation, but specifically Revelations 21 and 22, is bringing everything into a consummation. I think that's what I'm looking for. Like everything's coming together. So how the Bible, everything you read in the Bible, every story you've ever read, is mentioned in the new heaven and new Jerusalem. Like you can see it. Like it all relates to this, right? It all comes back to this. Like God has not forgotten what he's done on earth. Everything has significance, and he's going to show it up there in some kind of way, right? In a different way, because it's a new world, new order, right? So, yeah, something else I wanted to say too was, I can show you guys the layout of the camp, but it's okay. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm good with verse 13. Are you good with it? You say yeah?
You want to go into 14?
Yeah, unless you want to start a new video and just try 14 and 17. Are you good keeping on going?
I'm good for keeping on going if you are.
All right, yeah, okay. So Revelations 21 verse 14 says, and the wall of the city had 12 foundations. Oh man, we're getting there. And in them the names of the 12 apostles. So first of all, we don't know which 12 apostles are really the 12. Like
I was thinking about that too. Anything.
Yeah. We
know who most of them are. We just don't know all of them.
Right. Because we know Judas is excluded, but there's another Judas, right? And then most people think Paul, but then we know that Matthias, I think that's his name, replaced Judas because the apostles actually appointed him, but God appointed Paul. So obviously God's appointing overrules everything. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, that's the debate. Is it Paul? Is it Matthias?
Yeah, and there's some people who debate if Paul is most definitions of what an apostle is like Paul would fit all the criteria.
Yeah. But some people don't think he meant
Yeah.
Jesus, though. You know, like, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And some people argue that it's Jesus. But yeah, well, we'll find out in
Right.
the next 60 years or so for us.
All right,
But yeah,
cool.
the important part of it, though, I don't know. I like it because, like, the apostles, the apostles learned from Jesus. They were discipled by Jesus. They were like the students, and then after he passed away, like all of them, who was theorized to have died in old age, but like 11 of the 12 continued discipling until their martyrdom, until they were killed. Like, were strapped to horses that were pulled apart. A lot of them were hung on their own versions of the. I love how they started off as students of Jesus, but are immortalized because they helped spread the church. They helped when it was still early enough, and now they're immortalized as like the 12 founders of the New Jerusalem. I just think that's really cool. I like that aspect. Um, I don't want to say the students become the teacher. You can never top Jesus. Students get their own recognition, and I think that's cool.
I mean, yeah, but for Christians, we're all supposed to be another Christ, essentially, right? Like, we're supposed to be
Yeah, we're supposed to be
example. So, yeah,
impressed.
another teacher.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, I like how you said that. So, like, 12 foundations. Did you guys hear that? Of the new Jerusalem and new earth, the foundation is what? The 12 apostles. Like, that's powerful. The foundation. Like, what is a foundation? Right? What's the significance of a foundation? We know it's from a wise builder, the parable of the wise builder. If you don't build your house on a solid foundation, it will crumble when storms come, when adversity comes, when trials come. It's not gonna be able to weather the storm. But if the foundation is strong, you don't think this foundation is strong, you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, the whole church was founded because the foundation was strong. Like, it was sustained, and it's still going on today because the foundation was strong. And the foundation of the new Jerusalem, the new earth, the new heaven, right? The eternal state forever. It's the 12 apostles. Like, guys, come on. The foundations are eternal testimonies to the apostles in their permanent place in God's plan. So again, God doesn't forget you when you do his work. There's rewards going for you up there. And this is one of the rewards for the apostles and the disciples. So, yeah, the apostles' names being on the foundation stones represents the Christian church and its part in God's redemptive plan, right? So, if it isn't built on a foundation of the apostles, this isn't the right place for God's people, right? So, if somebody give you a different message than what the 12 apostles gave you, the 12 disciples, you don't need to listen to that message. Like, this is the foundation of heaven. Like, are you kidding me? So, the phrases of God's program, Isaiah verse 12, we see that the children of Israel in verse 12, right? The 12 gates, name with their names on the 12 gates. In the church in verse 13, the foundation will be memorialized forever in the holy city, and saints of all ages will dwell there, right? So they're a memorial, just like what the high priest had to have on, what Aaron had to have on when he went into the presence of God to represent the whole nation of Israel back when they had the tabernacle, right? So this is so powerful how the Bible relates, man. Like, it's so much to say with that, but I'll leave it at that. But no, there's one more thing. In ancient time periods, like, houses today suck. First of all, that's the first thing. Like, why do houses blow away so easily during a tornado? Like, I can't stand it, man. Like, why do houses been blown away like crazy during a flood? Like, houses, cars, everything. I'm amazed. And it'd be like impressive monuments and buildings that be going. And that's because in ancient time period, where they used to lay the foundation of the house was actually in the bedrock of the soil, right? I'm gonna show you what the bedrock is. So only any higher foundation layers would be visible for the eye to see. So really, there's multiple layers of a foundation. I want to show you guys what a bedrock look like, because this is crazy. This is one of my favorite parts of Revelations 21. So this is what a bedrock look like. So you have, this is where we be building a foundation. I be seeing it when they be making a house. This is where they build a foundation, in its topsoil or in the subsoil, right? But then you got another layer in the parent material. But back in the day, when they built a house, they used to build it on a bedrock. You see how deep that foundation is? How deep is your foundation with God? How deep is your relationship with God? Is it built on a solid foundation? Because if it ain't built on a solid foundation, it's not going to stand. So heaven is built on a solid foundation, right? Where the storms of life come, it doesn't move. It stays there. It can weather every storm. This is our salvation. This is our hope. It can weather every storm. Just have faith in God's word. It can weather every storm. In the bedrock, who's the rock in the Bible? Jesus. Jesus is the rock. Go to the rock. Stay near the rock, like the rock badger, like me and Justin talked about with the rock badgers and the conies and the hyraxes. Like they stay near the rock. They don't move from the rock. They just stay there, right? If they go 250 feet, they don't go 250 feet out from the rock, because anytime they do, the predators just take them out. That's life. You don't move away from the rock. Jesus is the rock, right? The bedrock. Come on, you gotta see that. It's so crazy, man. That verse was crazy, man. Do you have anything else, Justin?
This first? I don't know. You want more in depth in it than I have. Just like that we went into the foundations as well. That foundation is very important. I felt like I went a lot into like the wall city. And I didn't think too much about the foundation. Mm-hmm. But no, I think like where the city is, you do need like a strong foundation. Let's mention some, like, is our, oh gosh, now that you mention it, yeah, there's so much to say about it. We talked about in 1 Corinthians, are we going to build our foundation on something eternal or something that burns? Are we going to build our foundation on the sand or on a good bedrock? Mm-hmm. Like, it's important. God made sure that his city was built on a good foundation. Names that pushed the early church. So I think that's a very important detail.
Yeah, I'm happy you said that with 1 Corinthians chapter 3. I thought about it when I was talking, but I didn't want to say it because I've been talking forever. But like with 1 Corinthians chapter 3, it said, yeah, like there's no other. It says, it starts off saying with Revelations, with 1 Corinthians chapter 3, with that part, it says there's no other foundation can one man lay than on Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the only foundation. He's the chief cornerstone. So if your religion, if your faith is based on a different cornerstone, which a cornerstone is the first part of how a whole entire stone is going to look. It's the first part of what a crystal is essentially going to look like on every side and on every dimension. And if any other side looks different than the cornerstone, it's going to mess up the whole entire stone. So it's going to mess up the whole entire church. It's going to mess up your whole entire faith. You guys see what I'm saying? So like, Jesus is the chief cornerstone. The other foundations, the 12 foundations of the New Jerusalem was built upon Christ. He's the original foundation. So like, that's why this foundation is so strong, because he's the chief cornerstone, the first foundation. You need to build your faith upon that foundation. Like, I mean, I love the Bible, man. This is crazy. You ready to go? You want to try 15 real quick?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, 15 looks easy. All right, so Revelations 21, verse 15. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city and the gates thereof and the wall therefore. So all I got for this essentially, Justin, is why wouldn't John, this is a question for everybody, why couldn't John measure the city but the angel could? You know, John was on a high mountain and he can't travel like an angel. Like we read in the scriptures that an angel can basically teleport. An angel can, we know that Jesus phased through buildings, so he didn't have to walk. He could teleport, phase through stuff. Like he could be anywhere, anytime. Like so, the angel could cover more ground than John could walking. So the angel, 14,000 miles on one side, 14,000 miles was the width, the height, and the breadth, whatever that means. The breadth, height, width. You guys know what I'm saying. All of the dimensions of the city. 1,400 miles. Are you kidding me? That would take forever. That's a good workout, man. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you got the golden reed. The angel is measuring the city with a golden reed. The whole city's made of gold. And that goes back to the tabernacle, guys. Like only the Levites could go into the tabernacle that was made of gold. But then in this new heaven, New Jerusalem, all of the city is gold. So that's saying that God, everybody's in the holy place. Everybody is where God is dwelling. Not only that, God is dwelling with us. So he's there. He's the light. The Lamb is there. You can talk to him, touch him, like he's there and present with you in the new heaven, new earth. Because everybody's in the holy of holies. You guys see that? Nobody's excluded. Nobody's separated from God. Everybody's with God. So if you believe in Jesus Christ, you believe in God, man, you're bound to finally meet your Savior face to face and be with him and reigning with him. So you're not going to be distant from him anymore, man. He's going to be near to you than ever before, just like we always desire as believers. I can keep on going, man. There's so much to say about that, man.
Yeah, I like that because I do stuff like it's physically there. Like I just liked my version NIV read. I'm not sure if that's important enough, but like the fact, like I said before, I love that they're taking the time to measure the city just because it's that important to them. Then, like they could make sure it's a certain length or width, but no, they put down all the stops, and I like that this to show that it's physically there. Like it's something we're looking forward to. I've been thinking about Buddhism and like some other religions lately. I've been reading about this book between a Baptist preacher and the Dalai Lama, but it's hard for me to get on board with Buddhism because like a lot of things they do because like at the end of enlightenment you're just supposed to like fade back into like there's not really an end to everything. Heaven, like for the New Jerusalem, like John is physically there. Crazy for me to think like how one person can take all this in, but he's physically there. What is going to be there at the end of our journey, and like the angels actually measuring all these details. Like if this were a mass hallucination, you don't think about oh yeah, cubits thick. Like no one thinks that. Goes into that detail, but man, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah. Man, let's finish this out. I think I'm good to finish this out now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll make it, man. I know let's go ahead and finish it, man. All right, so Revelations 21, verse 16. And the city lieth foursquare, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, which is gold, by the way, like we said in verse 15, 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. So we've been talking about how it's a perfect four squares, so it's a giant cube, essentially. And we see that it's even on every side, like we've been saying in the previous verses that we went through. So we kind of spoiled this part already. So all you need to know is a furlong is 200 yards, which means 600 feet. So you got to times that. So it's 12,000 furlongs, right? So that's 1,400 miles or 2,400 kilometers, right? So all you need to know, first of all, I didn't think that was that big for heaven. But this is how you got to think about it. It's a city. So we don't know if there'll be multiple cities in heaven. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a whole new earth, like just the whole thing, and it's bigger than the earth is right now. I don't know. So that's all a mystery. So that's another thing too. You're not going to have all your questions answered in the Bible. Sometimes you just got to have faith, right? And just believe what's already said. So it's a lot of questions we don't have answered, right? But we know that this city, the New Jerusalem's way bigger than the Jerusalem now. Like that Jerusalem's tiny. Like so compared to this. Like, and it's a city. It's not a state, it's not a country, it's a city. I want you guys to get that. So if there's countries and if there's nations and you guys get what I'm saying, and what continents, how big are those continents compared to this city? Like, I don't know. Like, so, like, so the city is the same distance between Miami and Florida, New York to Dallas, the Canada to the Gulf of Mexico, Colorado to the East Atlantic Ocean. That is huge. I should have showed you guys a map while I did that, but you guys can look at it. Like for a city, guys, and then we see how high it is. It's the height is 1,400 miles. That means that's just the wall. So that means some of the city has to be like in the Earth's atmosphere, essentially, or in outer space. Like, because it didn't say that it was be on the Earth technically. Like, I don't know. Like, so that you guys gonna say you can imagine, man. Like, it's gonna be beautiful. Like this blows our minds, and it's just different than what we are accustomed to. Did you have anything else, Justin, before I talk about like the equality again and the fairness and stuff?
Actually, like to hear you start talking about that. I may add on to that. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So like I had two questions for everybody. What about the measurements in this text? Why are the measurements mentioned and given in equal? Because they're equal. Like we talked about that earlier. Like it's just symbolizing what heaven's gonna be like. And here goes 2 points. When the measurements are read in the rest of the text, they signify perfection, like Justin said earlier. So we see a situation where everything is equal on all sides. So right now on this earth, some races are treated worse than others. Let's call it like it is. Nobody's treated equally. The social classes, the rich are treated better than the poor. They can get away with more if you got money. Come on. There's people who are rich that should be locked up for something and they can get away with it because they got money. It's crooked corners on the earth. It's unfairness. There's biases, right? It's not going to be like that up there. There's going to be no royalties, no more hurt feelings, no more losing things to thieves. Like no more sorrow, no more pain. I keep on going. Like no one will be taken advantage of no more. Everything will be fair. Are you kidding me? Can you even picture that? Like that don't make no sense. But people, my dad always says, when people are in the equation, they're sinners, right? So like they're gonna screw up everything. But like in heaven, it's gonna be different. Why? Because God is there. Because God's there, peace is gonna be there. Why? Because God is peace, and if He's not dwelling on earth like He will be up there. It's totally different, guys. Like nobody will be able to get away with anything, right? So, and there would be no need for, a judicial or political system or anything like that. Political parties, like, kidding me? Like, there's only one party, and that's Jesus. Like, you don't leave what he wants, you can go. Like, so yeah, everything's righteous, man. So it's just so much to say with that. Heaven is the antithesis of all that grieves us in the current world, right? So that's one of my biggest points. So instead of death, we'll see life. Instead of injustice, we'll see peace, justice, and harmony, right? Instead of hate, we'll see love. Instead of strife, so trouble, division, fights, and separation, we'll see unity and peace. Man, if you don't believe in God, I pray you do after this video, man. This is so crazy. Instead of religion and lies, we'll see a direct relation with God where truth is obviously because God is truth, right? God is there. Truth is there. So it's right in your face, dwelling with you. You can't deny it. Nobody can. That's what everybody wants. So yeah, man. That's the new heaven, new earth, man. It's gonna be a great city. So you want to add to that, Justin?
Yeah. I just like how I don't know, gosh, it's hard to already try to attempt it. I just like how the city is laid out in a very specific manner. Like it's not just a place. It's supposed to be a place that holds God's glory, shine like God's glory. It's supposed to be this place of uniformity and equality. Hard to imagine, honestly, and I thank John for trying to put this into because I'm sure like there were a couple of times where he fell down due to glorious or how powerful it was, but it's just something that's it's something you look forward to. Like when people have such a rough life, when they're trying to run the marathon, as Paul says, it's a blessing to know at the end. Like we aren't supposed to do it for a reward. We're supposed to do it because we're God's created to do good in this world and help out other people and hope that they can do good in this world. Is fix this broken world little by little. But just knowing that this broken world will pass away, a symmetrical, uniform, beautiful place at the end is just a relaxing thought, honestly. And like, I would pray that anybody can just find like the rest under the shade of God.
Right. Yeah, everything else, most of my other notes for 16 and 17 is kind of speculative. Like it's really like I don't want to say opinionated. That's a bad word. It's just a theory. Like it could be
Yeah,
wrong, it could be right, right?
I think
Like
speculative was a good word.
yeah, because like I like how you said, John, he's doing his best to articulate what he's seeing. So there's probably no words on earth to convey what he's seeing. So he's doing his best, like saying stuff like a Jasper and Amethyst is like. He said like. So
Yeah,
so
ex-
he did his best to articulate what he was seeing, but all you need to know is a beautiful place, right? Like, come on, guys. Like, you kidding me? So, like, one thing you need to know too, I don't know anything about square miles, but it says that the city was close to 2 billion square miles. So the New Jerusalem will encompass 2 billion square miles to further show God's kingdom will include the whole or entire world, right? Like God's trying to reach as much people as possible. So like one of my other points was certainly such a large city defies both logic and imagination, but most of the things God does often goes against logic or imagination. So this is a city like Jasper is transparent like crystal. Like that defies the logic of what we're used to on this earth. Like and the walls that big, if a wall is 250, 200, it was 216 feet thick. Like, there's no wall like that that's that thick. Are you kidding me? Like, why you need a wall that thick?
yeah, that's crazy thick.
That's covering a lot of
It's still,
ground, guys.
somehow it was still clear too. Like,
Yeah,
remember, it's as clear as 200-foot thick wall, but apparently you could see all the way through it.
yeah.
That's insane.
And then on top of that, like, just imagine how much light that would reflect if it's that thick and that big. Like, we know it's 1,400 miles high, so like, it's a huge wall. Like, come on, guys. Like, and Stephen commented, he said that's a lot of real estate. Like, so yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, I don't know, like miles and stuff like that. Like, somebody said, let me see if I can find it. He said basically, they try to predict how many people would be there, but basically there's to be a lot of room for people. So I don't get how there'll be a lot of room for people like in this
Mm.
city. But somebody like did the numbers and they said basically everybody would have 75 acres. So 75 acres would be like 57 football fields of land. Like if there's 100 billion people like on that are saved that are there. Like
Mm.
so I don't know. Well, not 100 billion. That's not right because it said 117 billion people have lived forever. Like there's been 117 billion people like of all time on the earth or something like that, right? Which I think that's a small number. But there will have been 100 billion people in the human race throughout history and let's say 20% of them are saved. So everybody gets a block. Their block will be 75 acres. So 57 football fields. So when Jesus said everybody will have a mansion, I guess like I guess if everybody has a lot of land, have that much land, I guess you'll have a mansion. Like, so
Yeah, I
I
guess
don't know,
so.
man. I don't know. I don't know that. Sometimes I'm a visual person, so I don't see it like that, right? But
Yeah,
because I don't know.
I'm gonna have to map this out. You got me thinking, like, how big is this place now? How
Yeah,
much?
yeah. I just want to be up there, man. Come on, man. That is too. God is too good. Like all
Yeah.
this just for serving Him, loving Him, accepting Him. It's everything, man. So let's go to verse 17, man. You ready?
All right. Yeah.
And he measured the wall thereof, uh, and 144 cubits according to the measure of man, that is of the angels. So Revelations 21:17. So it's noted here, the one measuring the wall again is the angel. So it's backing up a
Mhm.
previous verse that we saw that the angel was measuring with a reed. And we know that 144 cubits is 216 feet. So the city wall raises to a height of that. So yeah, so it Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's different. So the walls of the city is 216 feet, right? So it's
Yeah,
small for the whole entire city, which is 1,400 miles high. So yeah,
14.
the walls are different. So the walls are 216 feet, so 144 cubits. But then the whole city is 1,400 miles high. So it's looked like the tabernacle again. Like now I see it. Now I see it. So like, the walls are tinier and smaller than the whole entire city. So that's why the city, like the height of the city, would be going up to the Earth's atmosphere because it's 1,400 miles high or 1,500 miles high, whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah,
So yeah,
gosh,
and
that's
then
crazy.
yeah, and then also I want to say, the wall's not built for protection or to keep people out. Like the wall's way more tiny than the whole entire city, but like you don't need a wall, but that wall's still bigger than any other wall we know, I think. So, yeah,
Yeah,
so it is keeping, yeah, the wall is not built for protection or to keep people out for its gates are always open. And we see that with verse 25. I want to read that. Revelations 21:25 says, and the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. So yeah, man, there's no darkness, there's no death, there's no evil. What does darkness symbolize? What does nighttime symbolize? Symbolize those things like mystery, confusion, fear. Like everybody who is not scared of the pitch dark. Have you ever been in pitch dark before? Like
mm, yeah, yeah.
who
It's
loves pitch dark? Like it's too scary.
yeah,
The
it's crazy.
unknown, right? Yeah, the fear of the unknown, man. So the gates are always open, man. The light of the city is always daytime there because God is the light, right? So yeah, man. So it appears to be intended to indicate that a large number of people will occupy the city. The huge cubicle city, the New Jerusalem, has more than enough room for 144,000 from Israel, and even for a crowd without number from all the nations of all time, all the redeemed people that have been saved. So yeah, it's a lot, man. Yeah, I think I'm good, man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have much to say that hasn't already been said. I do like that the angel is physically measuring it, so you know it's a physical place. It's not just if you die, you get like whatever vague heavens have, and the
Yeah,
144 is like 12 times 12. So you see
right.
that 12 is. So yeah, I don't have much more to say to this, but
Yeah, let me try to piece this together. This is my last thing I'm saying. So it's my note says that the angel measured the wall and it was equivalent of being 75 yards thick. So we've been talking about that a lot. That was in converting today's measurement, that's 144 cubits thick, and that represents the 144,000 redeemed people, right? So yeah,
mm,
the 144. So we read Revelations 21:17, just focusing on this verse. It said he measured the wall thereof 144 cubits, according to a measurement man that is of the angel. So 144 cubits was the wall. It's a That's 216 feet, and it represents the 144,000, the 144,000 that were redeemed in I think the tribulation times, right? The Great Tribulation or something like that. Who was the 144,000?
there people say different things. It was like the 144,000 were like the people who were saved during Jesus. Disciples were forming the new church, and some people say during the tribulation time. Tribulation time, but I'm not sure. I've heard different things, honestly.
Okay. Well, it symbolized again. It symbolized again like the church. So the redeemed people, like it's another memorial that just like the soil gates had the 12 tribes of Israel's names written on it, and the 12 foundations were the 12 apostles. Now you got the whole entire wall, 216 feet wall, 144 cubits, representing 144,000 redeemed people. Now, question is, where are we going to be? Where's our memorial? Like, what's what's there for us? Right? So that's a mystery. We don't know. So that's why do your part now on this earth. Do live and serve God while you can now, because what you do here on this, what you do here now on this earth dictates everything, dictates all eternity. And yeah, life on earth is just a speck on the infinity
Yeah.
line that will go on forever in the eternal state. So make sure you live it right, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, you only get one life, but if you live it right, one time is enough, man. So yeah, man, like
Yeah.
yeah, everybody
Absolutely.
live for Christ, man. So I hope everybody liked this video. This was long, man. I'm sorry we went so long. Justin, thank you so much, man, for doing this video with me. I'm happy with it, man. So yeah. All right, guys. But you guys make sure to support us on our social media pages. We're gonna close out the video. So make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Upload Past Crossroads. You know, like all my videos, comment, share. Also, you know, befriend me on all my social media pages, follow, share all my content. Man, I have amazing social media pages. Let me just get that out there, man. I have the best social media pages ever for a Christian. So please go to that page, like everything, comment. DM me and Justin on our social media pages. If you have any questions, you want us to do a video on your question. Especially if you really enjoyed this one. If you enjoyed these lessons on Revelations 21 and what we'll do on Revelations 22 or any lessons we've done, ask us questions on those or tell us to focus on a certain scripture verse and we'll do it. All right. So, yeah, let me talk about Justin's social media pages and then we're out. You know, Chaplain Logs, make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel, turn on the bell notification so you know when he uploads a new video, and like all his videos, comment, share, and go to his Facebook page, Justin Lee Howell, and hey, okay. I thought this was our video right now on your page. All
Man,
right,
good
but
deal.
anyway,
Very
yeah,
fast.
right. All right, but anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. I pray you guys enjoyed this video. If you watched it all the way to the end, you rock. Especially you, Steven. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, man. I'll just keep it short. We gotta go. All right, you guys have a good weekend. Have a God bless you. Kick me. I pray in Jesus' name that you guys receive all the victory through every single obstacle that you're facing, and we all serve the Lord the best way we possibly can. So when we get up there, we have no regrets, man. We left it all out on the table for God. You know, fight the good fight of faith, run your race, give it everything you got in this race, man, of faith, so that when we finally get
Mm,
up there, man, our race wasn't in vain and we did everything we could. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later,
mhm.
man. Peace out.